Good morning. This is Michelle Thompson, your academic and legal coach, and today I am doing the last installment of my planning series, How to Get Back on Track. Yes. So if you are a lawyer or an academic who, or any number of people can benefit, but graduate students, adjunct professors, tenure track, those who are tenured. If you're a lawyer in a law firm, private practice, solo practitioner, government, not-for-profits, this series is for you. Here's the thing. Have you ever wanted something personally or professionally and you haven't quite gotten there? Do you feel like you start and you get stymied? Do you feel like you need to keep things moving in the right direction? Well, you need a plan. And I know what you think about plans because you think I've done them before. They're boring. They're all sorts of things. But here's the thing. How is things going for you with that one? Just thought I'd ask that. Because when you do something as simple as go on a road trip, you have a map. And that is actually a plan, right? You don't just guess about how to get to British Vancouver from Minnesota. You actually pull out your GPS or actual map books, how rare, and you get on the road and you go, right? That's what I'm asking you to do. Set up a roadmap for getting where you want to do it. And so here we go. This is the last installment of this planning series. All of them are saved here on my page on Facebook. So if you want to look at the old ones, you certainly can do so. And so there are a lot of things that you've communicated to me about things that don't quite work in your professional lives and your personal lives. And I think many of these problems could actually be solved if you had a plan, a real plan of attack on how to make them happen. So last week I talked about accountability and execution. And this week, what to do if things go awry. What if you're just off your plan and things aren't working out that way, right? So this one's about getting back on track. So admit it, you've done plans. That's why you don't even like this series. You don't even want to come near it, right? You've done plans and you're frustrated because they never work. That's not fun at all. And so let's take a step back for a minute, right? Because that, to do something and it doesn't work very well for you, right? So I work with lawyers and academics, right? And it's likely that you wouldn't be where you are if you actually didn't have a plan that you regularly use. Before you just say no plans ever work. It's not true. You really have had plans, right? You didn't divine it because all of you have a college degree. And why am I bringing that up? Here's the thing with the college degree. When you go to college, your school tells you need to get this many credits of science and math. You need to get this many credits in the humanities. You need to get this many credits of whatever. And they've laid out a plan for you. And you know what? You carried it to fruition because that's what you needed to do to graduate, right? So you've earned the degree. You've done it. You followed your plan. And maybe you're a high school graduate. I don't know. But again, your high school laid out an agenda for you and you followed it. There was a plan. See, you've done this before. Don't give me that noise that I'd never worked. No, you've actually followed plans before, right? It doesn't mean that there weren't bumps in the road and that it wasn't challenging. I'm not making that argument at all. I think that's, well, phooey. And it's likely that you wouldn't have done it if it wasn't challenging. You wanted something that a challenge that you could really go for. But take a minute and think about those challenges that you face as you tried to get a degree or finish high school or whatever it was, or maybe it's law school or the doctoral program. What were those challenges? How did you see them at the time? Were they insurmountable? Were they simply bumps in the road? How did you overcome those challenges? You can pause the video. I would encourage you to take out a journal or a piece of paper and just write down the answer to those questions, because I think you need to keep that in mind because you're trying to devise a plan to reach something else you want to do. So let me repeat them. How did you see those challenges at the time? How did you see them at the time? Were they insurmountable? Were they merely bumps in the road? How did you overcome them? What did you do? And yeah, those are the questions I want you to answer. So pause if you want to watch this again and pause it, that would be good. But I ask you those questions so that you remember that you have what it takes to overcome those obstacles in achieving your plan. You actually know how to do this because you've done it before. How is this? So So when you tell me that I've had a plan, they never work, I don't buy it. I know that they have. So back to the plan, right? The plan that you're making now to achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal, as Darren Hardy says. The first thing I want you to ask yourself about plans in the present is, where did things go off the rails? Where did things go off? Where did they go awry? When did it happen? When did it happen? What was the trigger? Now, sometimes there's just big, awful life events that intervene with what you're trying to do. And I'm sorry about these. These are the worst, right? Sometimes it's death. Sometimes it's a breakup, divorce, or some other major event. You know, you define that for what it is. And maybe that's the thing that got in the way of you achieving your plan. Sometimes there are emotional blocks or inner blocks, right? Perhaps your inner critic started screaming at you. And boy, the inner critic has a lot to say. Trust me, I know this one. Did you feel paralyzed by fear? Were you paralyzed by doubt, right? These are the kinds of internal or emotional blocks that could get in the way of you achieving your plan. So the reason why you came off of your plan will devise your solution for getting back on track. And let me repeat that. The reason why you came off of your plan will define how to get back on track. So let's start with the major life events as a trigger. Much to our chagrin, these things actually do happen. And I realize that the older I get, the more of these big events start to happen. Not necessarily for myself and for other people I know. And the way that things get set up in our society is that there isn't a lot of space to handle the emotional fallout of those big, hairy, awful events, right? But they happen. It doesn't mean that you have to give up and abandon your plan, right? And it's a time to reassess and figure out how maybe this has to be done differently given what I can handle at the time. So maybe you need more time to get yourself the emotional support that you need. Take the time, you know, do it now, because if you don't do it now, it will come back to bite you later, right? You need to take the time to mourn, and that could be mourning someone's death. It could be mourning a relationship, whatever it is. You need to take the time to do that. It doesn't mean that you can take to the bed for, 3 months at a time, but you need to figure out in your day, in your week, in your months, how to put the cushion in there so that you can do the emotional healing that you actually need to do. The only thing you should do with your plan actually is just to move back the deadlines. That's it. Make sure you move back the deadlines so you have time to emotionally clear yourself. Maybe you move all your deadlines back by a month. Maybe you didn't provide yourself with a buffer in the initial plan, and this is the time to put your buffer in now, because you don't know what's going to happen as you do your plan, and so you want some squishy space to make sure that you're staying on point. It won't be the first or last time that something gets in your way. I hope it's not a whole lot of awful things that are happening, right? The next thing, and I talked about this last week about accountability, but this is a time where you want to get the community you need to help you move through this event, right? You don't have to sort it out all by yourself. I think that's another myth that our society lays out about handling these things. Oh my gosh, she got a divorce like 3 months ago. Isn't she over it already? No, it was a 10-year marriage, right? This is going to take a lot of time. So make sure that you don't sort it out by yourself, that you get the kind of community in with you to handle these things. This could be hard by yourself, right? You're going to need other people. Don't find people who are eager to watch you get over it, right? It's not a get over it kind of time. It's like, I'm just feeling what I'm feeling. You want people who give you the space to move past the challenges that you face, right? Take time to grieve. Sometimes the big hairy things are more logistical, right? Money is one of those things that gets in the way of people achieving their plans, right? Really can derail the best of plans, unfortunately. So now you know that this is a challenge, right? You actually will need to figure this out, otherwise you won't be able to accomplish what you're trying to do. Maybe this has to become part of your planning. How am I going to raise the money I need to do this? Maybe you need to find grants, and maybe you need to do a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. I don't know. Be creative about it. There's so many awesome vehicles to figuring out how to leverage your community to raise the money you need to achieve your goals. Maybe the money issues aren't so much the do you have enough, but doing the inner work about the challenges that you have with money. I know I'm talking about really funky things today, but these are the things that screw up plans. So I have to do this. I have to be honest with you about this, right? Sometimes this means that you have to do inner work on your particular money story, right? We all carry messages from our families and our backgrounds about money, right? And it's these messages that often trip us up later in life. So you want to insert time in your plan to handle the overdue bills, etc. And you want to put in time and build the community you need to actually free yourself of money stores that are actually holding you back. That's actually not helpful. Sometimes, like I said, you have to simply raise money, right? And find someone you can brainstorm with to actually figure out how to do this. Like I said, it's a new world. There's so many amazing creative ways out there that you can leverage your community to get the money you need to achieve a goal. And and think about this is a sort of work that isn't directly the thing that you're doing, but helps you build the infrastructure to achieve what you want to achieve. So go get it. Go fix the money stuff and go get what you want, right? Okay, so those are the big, ugly things that can get you off track. Sometimes the roadblocks are more internal. I think instead of emotional issues, it sounds like I'm saying you're crazy. That's not what I'm saying. But they're internal blocks. And so I'm not saying that you're crazy. I'm talking about things like that inner critic. And we all know the inner critic, unfortunately. And the inner critic may actually have an embodiment, right? Sometimes it's that aunt. Sometimes it's a parent. Sometimes it's a best friend, whoever it is. And you can actually hear the voice. Like you're working along and all of a sudden you hear this voice in your head. Anne Lamott talks about writing and the inner critic. And she talks about it in terms of a radio station. And what does she call it? WKFD. Literally K-fucked, because that's like what it says, and it's a really, really loud station. And in that book she's trying to figure out how to turn it down, because that inner critic that really knows how to do its work. What does the inner critic say, right? Sometimes it says you'll never amount to anything. Sometimes it says you can't do this. Sometimes it says you're just too scared. Scaredy cat, you can't do this. And there's a long list of other things that inner critic might say. It's actually really, really helpful to sit down and journal about, think about that inner critic and think about it embodied. Who does that inner critic look like? And call them in for a conversation with your journal and say, hey, Aunt Lou, let's talk. What do you have to say about me? And then write down the things that Aunt Lou says about you, so you understand that it's not you, it's Aunt Lou who's saying these things. And then you kindly dismiss Aunt Lou, go, thank you for your input, and then tell Aunt Lou you can have a nice day now. She's been listened to. Maybe she'll be a little less quiet, right? As you figure out what Aunt Lou has to say afterwards, maybe you can try to ignore her, right? But you have to be kind to her at the same time, because then she comes back, and this time she's meaner and louder than ever, right? You may need to do this often, but it's a very helpful way of purging the critic, right? And this inner critic is the kind of thing that can really sabotage our work. Like you're moving along, you're cranking along, and all of a sudden Aunt Mildred has something to say, and it's very, very loud, and you're like, she's right. And you're done, and you're off of your plan. And Aunt Mildred is not being helpful right now, and Aunt Mildred has nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish in the present moment, right? So once you realize that it's the inner stuff that's getting in your way of achieving your plan, think about it. How much time did you lose? Go back and review your plan and account for the time lost. Again, you want to make sure you build in buffer time in your plan to make sure that you can actually handle these things. Make sure, and last week I talked about accountability partners, make sure that your accountability partner knows about Aunt Mildred. Yeah, you got to tell her. You can't keep her inside. Everyone needs to put Aunt Mildred on blast. Everybody needs to know about her. So everyone can do a neighborhood watch, if you will. Oh, Aunt Mildred's coming. Oh, thank you. And you know what to do, right? That way, your accountability partner and your community will know when you're about to sabotage yourself, because Aunt Mildred came in the house. And make sure you pad your plan again with buffer time so you don't lose too much time. It can be challenging to get back on point, but here's the thing. Darren Hardy, an executive coach, talks about that holy moment. What am I talking about now? It's that moment where you could make another choice that's pleasing in the present, right? So Oprah Winfrey talks about it this way. You know, when food is one of the, you know, was something that she's visibly and openly talked about her love-hate relationship with, right? And so sometimes she understands that she should have a piece of fruit as opposed to the next potato chip, right? And that's the holy moment when you have to decide between those two. And it becomes holy when you decide, I'm going to go with the fruit, right? So when the inner critic or some other internal thing tries to sabotage you, opt for the holy moment. It doesn't feel good at the time. You don't want to, you're tired, I'm not in the mood, whatever it is, go for the holy moment. And here's the thing. It feels so good when you go ahead and make the holy choice. It feels amazing. You're like, I did it. I did it in spite of everything I felt, right? So getting back, the last thing I have to say about this is that getting back on track will require the help of a partner, a community, who can let you know when you're about to go off and guide you back on your track, you're back on your plan. It is absolutely essential. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for listening to the series. If you want to catch old installments, you can find them on my Facebook page. Once I'm finished, please go ahead and like my page. Just click that like button. That would be great. If you want to hear more from me, if you want to read more from me, on the left side of your page, there's an icon for my newsletter. You can click on that newsletter if you're an academic. I'm going to put the link for it if you're a lawyer under this particular under this video. And so you can go ahead and become part of my list, and where I send monthly words of encouragement and advice about how to navigate all manner of things, right? In the comments section, let me know what you think, like it or whatever, or have any reaction that you want. If you have questions, put them in the comment box. I will respond to you and get back to you about that. I'd love to do that. And who knows, maybe your feedback will provide the content of another Facebook Live video. If you need one-on-one help with the goals, please message me. I'd be more than happy to work with you on those. Let's schedule a time to talk and make sure that we're both headed down the same path. If you're a lawyer, I have an offering for you just about this issue of staying on track with the personal and professional stuff you want. If you're a woman who's a lawyer, click on sign up now. That is my latest offering, Tribe of Legal Warriors, where I work with women like you to navigate the perils of this profession and make sure that you have set and keep the personal and professional goals that you want. You can catch me every week on Twitter. I host two Twitter chats. Number one is One Academic Thing, hashtag One Academic Thing. That's on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. And that's where you get to tell me one thing that you would change in your daily life as an academic. And don't forget to include hashtag One Academic Thing in your answers so that I can see it. It's getting to be the summer, so I'm open to also discussing, like, what are you doing over the summer and how do you hope to get there? Same thing for lawyers. One Legal Thing, hashtag One Legal Thing, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And tell me one thing about your life as a lawyer that you would like to change that would improve your job. Hashtag One Legal Thing. If you don't include that, I won't see your answer. And what is it like being a lawyer cooped up in your office during these summer months? I'd love to hear from you about that. Have a great day, and tomorrow I'll be on with my writing tip. Bye.